It's time for Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is another edition of Bringing the Heat with Bryan Nolen. Yours truly. On this week's edition of the program, we got a fantastic program for you. Jeremy Clements talked with our Steven Stumpf. We're going to get his thoughts on a plethora of things and more. Fantastic interview with Mr. Jeremy Clements coming up. We also got Mr. Trey Lyle co-hosting with yours truly. We are going to be talking a plethora of things. We're going to be previewing the next round of the playoffs. We got Talladega, the Roval, and the unpredictability, probably the best racing that we see. Kansas coming up in the round of 12. But without further ado, let's dive on into Steven Stumpf's interview with Mr. Jeremy Clements.
Now it's time for...
Will they get the white flag? The white flag
keep
in the air.
Back to the top.
Jeremy Clements in front, and the caution comes out. That will end the race. Jeremy Clements is going to win at Daytona.
To go into the Inferno with Bryan.
Steven Stumpf, front stretch here with Jeremy Clements at Bristol. Jeremy, nice to meet you. Just kind of walk me through, talk about your season, 2024 season up to this point.
Oh, boy. It's kind of been a rough one, you know. I mean, we haven't had the finishes that we wanted at all. It's just been kind of a rough start. I mean, a rough whole season, really. Eight races left, but you know, our best finish is 6th at Atlanta, and then a lot of good runs, honestly, that got ended through wrecks or shooting our own self in the foot. I remember Iowa ran out of gas out of nowhere, had a top 10 car that day, easy. Lost 2 laps. And then just getting in wrecks that are not our doing. You know, just being in the middle of that 12th to 15th area, and then things happening. And New Hampshire had a really fast car, and then dialed herself out there at the end of the race, and just hadn't been our year, to be honest. So been struggling to get the finishes we want, but I'm really looking forward to Bristol. This is one of a good track for us, so I always love coming here.
Indeed. But to that point about, you know, that's about finishes and wrecks and so on, overtime's kind of become a hot button topic in recent weeks. As both a driver and a car owner, do you think there needs to be made a change? Do you think NASCAR needs to step in with the way a lot of these races have been ending recently?
It's unfortunate. Like last week, we had a top 10 going, and caution came out with 5 to go, and then all hell broke loose. Everybody just running into everybody, and I was a victim of that. You know, going in turn 1, got my rear tires picked up, couldn't turn, running a 98, messed him up, messed my car up. So my car literally didn't have a scratch on it till the end of the race, and this thing's needing half a body replaced now. So it's frustrating for sure, but it's on the drivers. You know, it's changed a lot with these young kids coming in. There's the respect out there that we used to have is gone for the most part, and it sucks. It's that way, but it is. You know, people race different these days, and I don't know what you do. Do you just I don't know what NASCAR does. Like, do they just have one overtime, or it's tough. And we've had these same rules for forever. I mean, nothing's changed in such a long time. I don't even remember the last time we had different overtime rules. So, hard to say. I mean, yeah, I can give my opinion, but what does it really matter? I don't make the calls.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a way to, you know, try and gain that respect among competitors back, or do you feel like we're kind of too far gone?
Probably too far gone, really. I mean, yeah, you race certain guys, and, you know, you help each other out as far as you might not give a guy a hard time if he's faster than you. Give him the finger out the window to let him go, and then they give you the peace sign back, and you know that's respect. You know, I grew up watching Mark Martin do that, and unless it's at the end of the race or it's a lucky dog, I mean, I don't know, you just race with respect. You don't have to run through each other and do the things that you see a lot of the time out here.
This is now your 14th season driving for your own team in Xfinity. Kind of talk about, obviously, the highest highs, your 2 wins, the Road America and Daytona, but also kind of some low points. Just like, what has the journey been up to this point?
Well, it's definitely a tough one. You know, racing for your own team is extremely hard, and it's only gotten more difficult. The sport has gotten more financially where you got to have more money than ever. So it's tough on that end. We need all the partners we have believe in us and behind us, and we need so many. We need them all to back us, and it's. But yeah, I mean, winning Road America was phenomenal. When it happened, we had a good car that day and things worked out. And then Daytona is a speedway race. You just hope to survive those half the time. And finally, one worked out our way. And so it's when we can have our stuff together and not mess up or get in people's wrecks, we can run really good. But when you're in that middle tier, you're just in the middle of a hornet's nest half the time, or all the time, really. So it's hard to. You're just in the middle of all that. So it can get frustrating. We tore up a lot of more equipment this year than ever, and boy, that you can tell in the bank account.
How much would a finish like that cost? Like for like Watkins on, how much would that cost for just an individual team overall? If you have an estimate?
I mean, it's probably half your purse or more to fix the car that you win, and not on top of all the other expenses that we have with tires and getting the car together. Road course cars are so expensive because they got brand new brakes, we got rental transmission and gear, everything is top notch. That we're not sparing any expense to try to make sure the car has all fresh components and the best we can physically find, and afford.
In other news, tonight Bristol will be your 490th Xfinity start.
Oh, wow.
Getting closer to 500. Kenny Wallace has the most starts at 547, so you would theoretically break that number in 2026. Is that something you've been new or been following, and what would it mean to stand alone as the most starts in the series?
I mean, yeah, I didn't follow it till what was it, end of last year, I guess, or sometime when I passed into the top 5, and then people like yourself start telling me this. But yeah, I don't ever pay attention to it till I'm told. But it's really, I guess it says a lot about me and the team that we're racers. We want to be here and race, and that's all it comes down to. I love racing, and it's something I've been blessed to be able to do. Even though it's not the way I want to do it, I'd love to be driving for a big team and just worrying about that part of it instead of owning your own team and worry about every little thing that goes on with it. And that can be definitely stressful. But it's still pretty cool that we're gonna hopefully get to that achievement and we can be number one. I know we're the Iron Man right now, so that's really cool. It says a lot. That's not a goal I want to achieve, but hell, we got it. So let's enjoy it a little bit. That says a lot about our team. I never was the what's when you're in school and you don't miss a day, whatever that's.
Yeah.
I was never that kid. I was looking for any chance to get out of school I could. But with racing, you're like, I want to be at every race I can, and it would be a disaster if you're not. In my world.
Also looking ahead to next year. Xfinity will be. There's a couple new tracks in the Xfinity schedule. You guys will be heading to Mexico City, but also notably, this year you had Portland and Sonoma back to back, and now you have Mexico City in June, Sonoma in July, and Portland in August. So kind of as an owner, how big is it to be back on that international stage, but at the same time having all those huge road trips just in separate months? How much of a cost is it to the team, both financially and just in terms of the mental toll of having to get everything out there?
Oh man, it stresses you out already a little bit. I mean, it's going to be a grind, and it's going to be difficult on us to have the cars ready. There's a lot of road courses all in an area. And I don't think we've been to a road course yet that we haven't had some damage from something. The cars just get beat up. The road courses like we've already talked about, the restarts at the end just go nuts, and so it's going to be. I think next year's schedule is going to be the most grueling we've ever had, no doubt about it. I also think it's cool to go back. Well, I've never been to Mexico City to race, but I raced in Montreal twice. I really enjoyed that. I don't know the track at all at Mexico City, so I hope it's a good track. All I know is F1 race there, and obviously this series did, way back when. So I hope it's a great racetrack, puts on a great show, and we get the attendance and the fans out that we want and all that. But it's going to be hard for me to get a sponsor too, to be honest. I haven't had any of my partners knocking down the door to get on that race, so I'm a little concerned on that end. Who is going to be on the 51 for that race? That's a little concerning to me. I think that'll be the hardest one to get. So besides that, and the money to go down there and do all that, I think I'm all about it. Just getting it covered to do it is the hardest part.
I think I remember back when the Xfinity Series did race there. I think there were some teams that got like a singular sponsor from a Mexican company or something like that. So not sure if that would be the case now. I don't remember Montreal the same way. But anyway, to that point, I do have one more question, and that is for any fans out there that might be listening. What are some things that they may not know as being both a team owner and a driver? Like what's kind of something that just you do involved in this that people may not realize?
Oh, everything. I mean, from the setup of the car to what's in the car, what brakes, what style NACA ducts are in the quarter windows. I mean, you name it. From trying to book travel to figuring out what food the guys are going to eat when we're at the track, what shirts are going to wear, what hats are going to wear, driving the simulator. Everything about it is, I've got to have my hands on. So it's a lot. I mean, it's only seems to get a little bit harder every year, really. It's just more to keep up with, from getting the sponsors to keeping them happy and doing, trying to do anything and more they ask for, doing all the interviews, of course, working out to try to stay in shape to drive the race car, every little thing you can think of, making sure our haulers got everything in it we need, spare parts, just so there's a lot that goes into it, before that we get the track every week.
But, all that's worth in the end is the name of racing and being on the track, right?
Well, when you get to drive the car, that's my favorite part, obviously, about it all. So that's the part that keeps you going and motivates you to keep all this rolling, because it can definitely wear on you. But when you get to drive the car and you're competitive and you're battling guys and going fast, that's what I was driven to do. So that's what continues to drive me.
All right, well, thank you for your time, Jeremy.
Once again, that was Mr. Steven Stumpf's interview with Jeremy Clements. Big thanks for Steven for letting us use that interview. You can also catch the written version of that interview on frontstretch.com. Let's head on over now to our news and notes segment of the week, where we wrap it up, all the latest happenings in the world of NASCAR.
What's still hot? It's time to upgrade you on the latest news in NASCAR.
We're going to bring in my co-host at this time. He's a host of the Happy Hour podcast at Trey Lyle VT, wearing it looks like a Kelly Green Eagles jersey, my friend. First off, thank you so much for co-hosting. And second off, how are you? I have not checked out the latest edition of the podcast yet. I'm going to listen to that tomorrow at work. So don't give me any spoilers. I did hear from Mr. Michael Massey Jr. III, you made fun of me again. So not a big fan of that, not looking forward to that, but I
do that every episode, so and I'm not the only one, let's put it that way.
Was it worse this past week than other weeks?
It was typical.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, I've let you make picks on the fast lane when I host now, so
that is true.
Balances out.
I do appreciate that. You can check out myself, Ty, and Trey every single Friday on the fast lane with Ed Lane on...
Just wherever you get your podcast. Just do wherever you...
That
it'll
works
be easier.
Too.
Just wherever you get your podcast.
Perfect.
Well, and actually, yeah, we'll pick Friday. So
okay.
But if you want to listen live, get the BTR and Sports app at 5:00 Eastern time. But easier, just you're already on your podcast feed. Just Fastlane, Ed Lane, subscribe, and anytime you see Votes of Confidence, Bryan is talking, and he gives bad picks out. So just do the opposite of what he does.
Boo. With that being said, we are not going to be giving our picks out for the upcoming round of 12, but we will preview them. 4 drivers eliminated from the round of 16 at Bristol this past Saturday. Trey Harrison Burton's trip to the playoffs came to an end. Martin Truex Jr., you had Ty Gibbs, and then you had...
Martin Truex Jr.
I thought I said Martin Truex Jr.
Did you? It
I
was
don't know.
Gibbs, Keselowski, Burton.
Keselowski, Brad Keselowski.
You are teasing the soundbite of the week because we
I
went
mean,
with
I know.
Truex.
Exactly. We're going to hear from him in just a little bit. With that being said, those 4 got eliminated. Coming up into the round of 12 after the round of 16, the 4 below the cut line are Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Alex Bowman, and Chase Briscoe, all under 10 points behind 12th, or should I say 8th, in Joey Logano. Trey, I mean, I feel like we said this last time, but this feels like the unpredictability part of the playoffs. You got a wild card in Talladega coming up next week. Then you got the unpredictability of the Roval. Not as crazy as it was in the past, but it's still pretty crazy. Am I just looking ahead of what I want to happen, or do you actually believe that, like myself?
Well, this has typically been the round of unpredictability when it's the typical playoff format when you put Talladega and the Roval in there. Granted, now that NASCAR this year added the Glen and Atlanta to the playoffs in that first round, it kind of threw things off in terms of now you have like the first 2 rounds are really just survival. If you're, a guy that's, I think one of the favorites to win the championship, which is obviously like your Kyle Larson's, Denny Hamlin's, Tyler Reddick's, William Byron's, Christopher Bell, and it's kind of the same format here. The one thing I'm looking at is Ford. Ford has been the clear hot manufacturer of late. I think they've won after like going winless. They've won 8 races in the last 10, something weird, crazy stat like that, maybe. And you think about it. I think you look at Briscoe, Logano, Blaney, and Cindric all will be really good at Talladega. I feel like I can bank on that. And Chase Briscoe is showing a lot of confidence, and there's always that one guy that gets to the round 8 that you don't expect. And I'm looking at Chase Briscoe, and well, I didn't predict it, when I first did. I think this is a round of survival, but a round where, you look at another person you can look at is Denny Hamlin. Well, Denny Hamlin, I think, learned his lesson from Atlanta where he played it safe and it didn't work out. I think he's going to have a different strategy when they head to Talladega. And it will be interesting to see because this will be the race if you're a top 5 guy this year: Larson, Bell, Reddick, Byron, Hamlin. I think you want to win like this outside of maybe the 4 rate. Like this is the most important race in this round to win instead of survive because it is the most, I don't want to say normal, but it's the 1.5 miles. It's the most safe race. Like you don't expect something crazy to happen at Kansas. You just expect good racing. And I think it'll be interesting to see who wins this race if it's a playoff driver. Like they basically they can be so safe in the next 2 weeks and it sets them perfectly for the final 4 or the round 8. So it's definitely that dynamic of this is the round to, I think if you're below the cut line right now, or if you're like a Joey Logano, you can be as aggressive as possible. That's hard to say. But if you're a guy towards the top, like a Kyle Larson, you might just rather, hit it into the fairway and get par, play it safe.
I feel like when people try and play it safe, it does not go the way that they planned. So, I mean...
But if you're 39 to the good, you get wrecked at Talladega early, there's your points. So,
but I'm saying like you don't go for like a top 5 at Kansas, you go for top 2 or 3. You don't settle for 10th to 12th, because if you are just content at Kansas or content in Talladega, then you're probably going to get wrecked. I mean, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
it's about survival.
And that's basically what this playoffs format is. What is also about survival is keeping rides in the top tier series. With that being said, couple notable news in the Cup Series: Justin Haley and Corey LaJoie had a driver swap. We had a trade alert. Anthony Damcott wrote an article about this on frontstretch.com this past weekend, but Justin Haley will be driving the number 7 car, and then Corey LaJoie will be driving the number 51 car. Also announced Justin Haley will be driving the 7 full-time next year for Spire. They can put the Alex Bowman, Justin Haley rumors to rest at least for 2024 and 2025. Now 2026 will be a different story. We'll talk about that when that time gets here. Also, Ty Dillon is out of a ride. Dawson Sutton is going to be taking over the number 25 truck. Silly season is alive and well, Trey, and I feel like it's just going to get hotter and hotter as the temperatures keep going down. We get into the fall, winter time. Silly season's going to be heating up.
Yeah, Ty Dillon might have gotten quote unquote fired, but he got he's gonna probably get upgraded in a ride in a move that frankly I don't understand.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Can I just be honest? If Ty Dillon's name was Ty Johnson, he would not have a ride in NASCAR. I just want to point that out. I'm just saying, like, I'm not, I respect the hustle, Ty Dillon. If you were smart, you would just go and maybe you could become the next face owner of RCR and just not race anymore and be like, by the time Austin's done, you're already the president of the company and you could take over. But that's just me. But yeah, so it looks like he's going to college, and I think the Dawson kid did the late models for Rackley, and they just want to they're going to put him in the truck. They're just getting ahead of things. Whatever. This trade, we talked a lot about it on Happy Hour. We even did some mock trades for the future in NASCAR, just made some up. It appears that Spire is slowly wanting to turn themselves to a Tier 1 team. It explains the moves they made. Carson Hocevar, Michael McDowell, getting Rodney to be the crew chief of the 7, all this money they're getting in. Throw in buying KBM, throwing in their truck program, and now it appears Haley's gotten an upgrade on the contract. Rick Ware was essentially he got an RFK contract for Rick Ware, and essentially now he has a Hendrick contract with Spire. It's that's basically what it is.
Pretty much.
And, Rick Hendrick is Rick Hendrick, and you don't say no to that. And, Spire has one win in their lifetime, and it was with Justin Haley. So all the connections are there. He's going to get maybe one of the best crew chiefs in the business. And I think it's a really big win for Spire. And Corey, it's weird to say, Corey over-delivered at first with Spire, but the time when Spire became, I don't want to say a serious competitor, but a more serious competitor, he started to under-deliver, and Spire got more cutthroat, and that's why they made this move. And I respect they did it now to get ahead of things and get Justin, they're clearly building towards next year, and getting Justin on board now is going to make them hit the ground running a lot more, even if it's not with the crew chief, hit the ground running more in 2024 or 2025, I should say. So I think it's a really good move by Spire.
It feels like Corey does not deliver when there's pressure involved. He didn't do good when he had the 9 car. And then when there was rumors about him all throughout the season this year, it felt like he was getting worse and worse. Maybe he just does not perform under pressure as well as when he has a chip on his shoulder. So we'll have to wait and see. And maybe the chip on his shoulder is back with Rick Ware, and he delivers those top 10s and top 15s and essentially gets a ride for 2025. So we're just going to have to wait and see. It's just a waiting game. Wish both of them and all of the people that we talked about in the silly season well. With that being said, Trey, let's head on over to our soundbite of the week, where we hear from one person that is calling it a career at the end of the year and got eliminated from the round of 16 at Bristol on Saturday night.
Well, Tony, what angered you at the end of the race? What did you take issue with?
What the hell do you think I was mad about? Dumb little runs us clear down to the infield. He wants to about everybody else, and he's the one that drives like a little I'm going to bust his ass.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
And short track racing.
It's time for the sound bites of the week.
just hated that I screwed it up.
You more frustrated about the penalty or frustrated that, like, afterwards, like, I mean, you still had a car and you couldn't really do anything with it?
Yeah, I mean, you just track position, here we go. I mean, once you get back there in the back, it burns your tires off really quick. So just couldn't get up through there. And then my tires went away really fast. And the leaders in clean air called me quick. There's something you can do. I mean, it's just it's the way this racing is. So you got to keep track position, and I lost all ours on my sped.
Once again, that was Mr. Martin Truex Jr. in his final round of 16 appearances, final appearance as a NASCAR playoff driver. He got eliminated on Saturday night. Trey, Tom Bowles had a fantastic piece on frontstretch.com last week, and I'm not just blowing smoke up as you know what.
Sure.
Hey, if you knew how to read, you would agree with me, okay? I'm just saying.
Words are hard, Brian.
I know that's why you talk for a living, okay? That's why we still love you. But I digress. He had a great article. Did you notice about drivers in their final years not living up to their expectation? And the only driver that really succeeded in his final full-time year was Carl Edwards, having multiple wins. I mean, you look back, Dale Jr., Jimmy
Jeff
Johnson,
Gordon.
Kevin Harvick. Yeah, Jeff Gordon was also one. But I feel like it was Carl Edwards, the last one. Jeff Gordon was before.
Was that like?
It was 2016, wasn't it? And
yeah, but we didn't know it was Carl's last year. Like, I don't even think Carl knew it was his last year. I
mean, you're not wrong based on the stories we've heard, and we're not going to dive into them.
Using like basic history.
Yeah.
Like, if Carl doesn't wreck in the 2016 championship and wins, like, even if he like if the way he literally lost that title, like, I think it just
I don't think he would be full-time racing. I don't think he'd be full-time racing right now.
No, I'm not saying that. I just don't think 2016 would have been his last year.
Yeah, I think maybe
about this on Happy Hour with Truex.
I think 2018, 2019, it would have been his final year, because I think his family, he was getting burnt out. I mean, it's a long season.
You see these losses in sports where it just and we're going to a different point now, but it really could break a competitor. I mean, you've seen it, and it's happened. So I think, Super Bowl 50 with Cam Newton literally, I think, broke him. Like, he came back and was playing really well, and then like broke his shoulder, and then ultimately ended his career. But like, that was definitely a moment in time where it kind of changed the trajectory of Cam Newton. Like, if you want to talk about football, so
I mean,
but let's go back to Truex.
I mean, one last point about football. I mean, he's been to the Super Bowl before, but Kyle Shanahan has never been able to win the big one yet.
He's overrated as a coach.
Don't tell Niner fans that. I mean, come on now. But
I don't really like my head coach right now, so that's.
I'm indifferent to Mr. Bob Sala, but I digress. Anyway,
big game, Bob?
No, he ain't big game right now. The only big game he has.
This is a NASCAR podcast, not a football podcast.
Okay, says the guy wearing a Kelly Green Eagles jersey. I don't even know where we were.
Because it's Kelsey family,
Love Jason, and love Kylie, and then the wife loves Taylor and Travis. So
All right.
Hey, I'm on your side here.
Can we keep going?
Okay, I mean, I guess we don't want to talk about Kelsey's anymore. Okay, rude. But
I love Jason Kelsey. He is
my
favorite football player of all time.
Oh my God. Okay. Anyway, it feels like every single driver in their final full-time season fails to deliver. And once again, Martin Truex Jr. failed to deliver. We'll see if he can get any more.
Can I make a point on him?
You may, Trey.
Okay. You were about the transition.
Okay, my apologies. Trey, am I just overreacting, saying, once again, a final full-time driver in their final season fails to deliver on A, just winning a race, and then B, winning a championship?
I mean, one, we saw this from Truex last year. I think this is a inherent problem on the 19 team. I said that during Happy Hour. They faded last year. I mean, you could argue their playoffs last year was more disappointing because Truex was the 16 seed this year. He was the number 1 overall seed, the regular season champ, and it was really bad. And he was luckily built enough points buffer. That's kind of what kept him going. So it's just these drivers fall off a cliff, man. You saw with Harvick, you saw with Jimmy. Like Jimmy's gonna race this weekend at Kansas, and it's
It's not gonna be
weird.
good.
It's
gonna be
weird
bad.
to see it. I mean, he shows flashes. Like you see the.
Does he though? Does he really?
It's was it. When did he like? When did he? Didn't he like practice? It wasn't It was at Indy where it was like 5th or something. Like he did. Like it might be a single lap or a single moment. I know
I
when he
gotcha.
qualified for the Daytona 500, what results fell his way, but that seemed to work out. I mean, go back to his IndyCar days, like that race at Texas where he finished 5th. Like that might have been.
That was cool.
They show flashes, and Truex showed like Massey brought up a good point about and go back to losses like breaking you. I think we're gonna look back at this last year and that spring Richmond race where he dominated and lost at the last second, I think was the nail in the coffin for him. And you could tell how mad he was after the race, and it really defeated him. And I think ultimately that's what we saw the rest of the year, because you could sense now that he was out, the pressure came off of him. And I would not be shocked if he wins a race the rest of this year. I don't think he will. But now that this pressure is gone, I think he could. Because unlike Harvick last year, when he came out and I think he had, like Harvick, I would argue it wasn't a talent issue because he won, 2 races last year? Right?
Harvick or Truex?
Harvick won 2 races last year. Or was it? No,
that was
2
the
years
year
ago.
before that. Yeah, Harvick went winless. He was about to win. He could have won Phoenix last fall. He led a bunch of laps, and I think he settled for a top 5. But
my point being with Truex is, unlike Harvick didn't have the car. I would argue you put Harvick in the 19 last year, he probably wins a race. I think the car wasn't good. I think Truex still has the car to compete, unless it's a bigger issue with the 19 team. So maybe this is a reflect, like maybe the 19 team as a whole just fades as a team that, it's like the Miami Dolphins. They're really good at the start of the year. Not this year. Last year's Miami Dolphins. They're really good.
Yikes.
Great. Really good at the start of the year and then fade at the end. Okay, like the Eagles last year. You can say that.
Okay, much better. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so weird. It's just the way that they fall. I don't know where we could see him win. I mean, maybe Kansas. He's been solid here. Obviously, he cut a tire last year, like the 3rd lap of the race, and failed to finish. I mean, I think the only best chance for him to win is probably Martinsville, and that'd be the second to last race of the regular season. Maybe he could win at Phoenix like Harvick did. Harvick didn't win, but he was up there contending, I should say. So, I mean, we've seen non-championship drivers win. Case in point, Ross Chastain last year. So, I mean, it is possible in today's day and age. So we'll have to see. But 7 more races for you guys that are Truex fans to see your favorite driver compete. He will probably do some one-offs.
He's doing the Daytona 500 next year.
Yes. That's gonna be pretty cool. Without further ado, we went way long on this, so let's dive on into some final thoughts and wrap it up.
It's going to be a drag race all the way back to the start-finish line. No caution. They're side by side, right to the line. Big crash. Here they come. Checkered flag.
The checkered flag is out, and it's time for the final thoughts.
Final thoughts are in the air. Whatever you want to rant, rave, or anything in between. Trey Lyle, the floor is yours, bro.
I'm just pumped to see after last weekend. Like, thank God Kansas is here. Like the best. That's
wild to say.
I know. Like, if you asked me when I was like, 17, like 5 years ago, pumped at Kansas over Bristol. But man, NASCAR needed this race. Like they needed it to go to Kansas after how bad that Bristol race was, which sucks to see. So I will end. Homestead should be the championship race. It's Homestead versus Kansas as the best track in the series right now. And I think, it can't top that first race earlier this year with literally the closest finish in NASCAR history. But I have no doubts it's going to be at least a solid to good race, and NASCAR needs it desperately.
I'm kind of piggybacking off what I talked about with Martin Truex. 7 races left. 7 races for Martin Truex Jr. to find a win in his final full-time season. For Truex fans, just soak it all up. I remember when I was still a fan, before I went to the media, and I was a fan of Dale Jr., and I soaked up the final memories that I had of him in his final full-time season. Obviously, did not go the way it was, but it was bittersweet in that series finale. Him driving that Budweiser color car. It wasn't Budweiser, but it was a color that was in the font.
It was the
color.
Bud scheme. It was the Bud scheme with an Alta paint.
Thank you. Thank you, Trey. Thank you. And I soaked it up, and I want for Truex fans to soak it up, because there's nothing like your favorite driver retiring. It's going to suck. It always will suck, and it should suck if you are if you're a fan of that said team. So soak it all in. You got 7 races. He may contend at Vegas or Kansas, where he sneak a win at Talladega or whatever, but just soak it in for 7 final races that you see your favorite driver diving into the car and battling it out for a win. It's gonna be sad when he retires, but once again, a great career and something that should definitely be celebrated in the years to come. You know what also should be celebrated in the years to come is the magnificence that Trey Lyle does each and every single week, handling my you-know-what. Trey, thank you so much. What are you going to be cooking up on the Front Stretch Podcast Network? And then plug your socials, my friend.
Just podcasting, man. I just do happy hour, and I have to wrangle you in each week to make sure you do a podcast. So at Trey Lyle VT, follow me there for mid-sports takes and rants about the Philadelphia Eagles and the Virginia Tech Hokies, basically. And that's it, man. You don't have to we don't write, so you don't have to plug any writing. Just check out the great stuff at frontstretch.com. Check out Tino with Through the Gears, betting advice, and Adam Cheek will react to Stock Car Scoop after the race on Sunday. So I just make sure you subscribe wherever you podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, youtube.com/frontstretch. So leave us a 5-star review, and in that, if we get 100 5-star reviews, Bryan will wear
a Speedo.
Okay, I was trying to think. There's other. If you want to Google Florida State fan and a red Solo cup, you'll see why we did this. But I will leave that to you. No, I was not going to tell you to do that. But Bryan will wear a Speedo and no shirt for a podcast.
And I'll put the camera above, I'll put it on the top so you can see the entire body.
And he'll get a spray tan for 100. It has to be 100 5-star reviews starting now.
Okay, 100 5-star reviews. Okay. And God, I mean, I do everything for the sake of the team, but I really hope we don't do that last part.
Or also,
oh God,
how about this? 1,000 retweets on the post.
I will wax my chest if we do 1,000 retweets.
Okay. Right. Wrap it up.
For Trey Lyle, I am Bryan Timothy Dale Nolen. Thank you so much for joining us. We are out of here. This was another edition of Bring in the Heat with Bryan Nolen.
What's up? Michael Massey here, frontstretch.com. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.